his experiences of Hajj. So, Mike, tell me a little bit more about your life in America, and tell me more about you and your family.
Well, I'm a truck driver. I made a knitter, and by the will of God, it was accomplished. And I decided if that happens, inshallah, I would have come to the Hajj. And I'm very happy to come here because my life was like routine: pray, go to work, come back. But I realized Islam is more than just routine work. When you see brothers like Abdullah and Mujahid, who just converted to Islam not long ago, and they're holding on to this deen so much with their fingernails, I realized I was really weak Muslim. In order for me to make my daughters, my kids better Muslims, I have to learn this religion. I have to know how the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to act, so I can teach my kids and they can teach their kids. So coming here, I just cannot believe that all these Muslims, compared to them, I thought I was a good Muslim, but compared to them, I realized that I'm falling way behind everybody. And I need to better my life. I need to study more about what the Prophet ﷺ did. And inshallah, if God is willing, I'm going to try to spend more time with the brothers in America who promote the Islam and not just pray and go home and that's it.
How else has the Hajj changed you? How are you going to go back as a different person with your family, at your job? What are you going to do that's different?
Well, I was thinking it's going to be tough working with Americans who are racist. If you know Americans, how racist they are toward Muslims. But inshallah, I'm going to try because, like I said, this is it. I'm 42 years old. And when I went to the cemetery and I seen how the guy was digging graves and there was only tiny bones left, I realized life is nothing. Life is nothing. I needed to be. I needed to realize that we're gonna die, and I should not be going after the dollar, running after the dollar. There's more to life than the dollar. I have to get ready for the afterlife.
Tell me about your emotions. What was going through you when you first saw the Kaaba?
I have to admit, when I started doing tawaf, I started crying. I didn't realize that doing tawaf will have an effect on me. And I tried to stop my crying, but tears kept on pouring down. I realized, there's a power so strong that made me cry, and I could not stop. And alhamdulillah, that's a wonderful feeling.
How about coming down from Arafah at the end of the day, standing there making dua all day, remembering Allah, going through the difficulties of Yom Arafah? What was going through your heart, going through your mind, coming down the mountain?
Well, I was mostly praying for my kids to be Muslims. We live in a corrupt society in America, and I was hoping my kids and my daughters will become true Muslims, and I need to stress that word, true Muslims. And believe it or not, seeing how your attitude, and I did a lot of prayers hoping my kids can turn out to be like you, educated and true Muslims and good manners. And I kept on praying, inshallah, my kids will turn out to be like you, believe it or not.
Wallahi barakallah feek. Is anything that you want to say to other Muslims out there concerning da'wah, concerning your experiences? Any last messages you want to give?
Islam is it. If you drink, do drugs, going after the money, the dollar, you're really wasting your time. Islam is it. Life will end, and you better grab Islam right now, because life, you don't know when it ends. I've seen it in my own eyes, how people are dying and constantly they're burying people. I realize this life is nothing. Nothing.
Barakallah feek, jazakallahu khairan. Next, we're going to go on to meet some of the other brothers who are attending the Hajj this year. Some of them, again, who have accepted Islam, others who have been Muslim and have come to a new realization of their Islam.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar.
The next interview we're going to do is with Brother Alexander Tobing. He's a residential developer and builder from Maryland, from Baltimore, Maryland area in the United States of America. Alexander has a very interesting background. His mother is a convert to Islam from Holland. His father is Indonesian. He grew up most of his life in the United States of America and has been involved with Islam through his family throughout the years. This is his first Hajj. He also has continued on the tradition by having his wife accept Islam, Stacy, and they have 2 children with a 3rd on the way, alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, Alex. How you doing? Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. I want to ask you about the Hajj experience. Tell me, I mean, subhanAllah, I've watched you as we've been going through the different stages, and you've absolutely just enjoyed every moment of it. I just look in your face and you're really enjoying it. Just talk to me about the Hajj overall.
Well, alhamdulillah, I think my expressions or my reaction to this whole trip is, first of all, it started out because I've been invited by Allah to the house of Allah, and once that started, it was all easy, straight. It was very easy, and you know, the trip is to make sure that my Hajj is accepted and that I truly act like a Muslim and who is a believer in Islam, and not trying to act like where we came from. You know, we've been washed away living in the United States to be something more than our true self. And as you see, I've already cut my hair, I've changed my look, and inshallah that not only do I look different from the outside, but I also have improved in the inside as a Muslim.
Tell me about your feelings when you first saw the Kaaba, when you went there to make the Umrah. What was going on? What was happening? What are the memories that you have from that time?
For me, seeing the Kaaba was the once in a lifetime, and of course the biggest moment of my life. I tended to go to the 3rd floor and the front row to see the Kaaba because, as you can see, the effect of what it does to all Muslims around the world. And I was sitting there really mesmerized by just the whole ambience of the Masjid Haram in Mecca, and that was a defining moment to me, where you see this is the center of the earth. This is the center. This is the center. This is where everybody comes to worship one God, and it's an amazing. You really can't express it until you've really felt it and been there, and to see millions and millions of Muslims just coming there to worship Allah.
How about your feelings and your emotions after spending the whole day on Arafah, up on the mountain, making dua to Allah, remembering Allah, crying out to Him for forgiveness, for assistance, for His blessings, for His ni'mah? What were you thinking? What was in your heart on the way down as we were both walking down that mountain together? What were you thinking?
Well, truly, it's a private conversation that you have with yourself and Allah. There's a lot of skeletons, or there's a lot of emotions that you go through, and it's really a deep conversation that you have with Allah, and you hope that Allah answers your prayers and answer your and forgives you for all the things that, you know, we are men, and Allah is perfect, and you know, it's really undescribable. There's a million things that go through your head and a million emotions that you go through, and by the end of the day, when you walk down that mountain, I really felt that not only moved, but inshallah that Allah has accepted all my du'as for myself and for my family and for the Muslim Ummah in this world that we live in.
Once you and I were talking, I think we were in the hotel lobby, we were talking about da'wah, and you told me you're not really the kind of typical da'i, that you don't go out there necessarily with the pamphlets and the books and, you know, standing on the podium and talking. You said that your da'wah is a little different. Tell me about that.
Well, I'm in the construction trade, and it's not really the easiest group of people that I work with. They're very simple and very, how would you say, realistic in the American world. But I think da'wah doesn't always have to be how you speak. Da'wah should be the way you perform, the way you act, and how you continue business. And inshallah that people will see the difference in my behavior, my characters, inshallah, for the best. and hopefully that more people convert to Islam or revert to Islam. As my brother and I have had a couple, one Muslim, one of our contractors revert to Islam. So inshallah, that after this experience, they can see that I've shaved my head. They can see that maybe inshallah that I've been more patient, and that we do more prayers and call adhan or qamat at the job sites as well, and they can start asking, and maybe that way we can initiate dawah.
Tell me about your wife. I mean, she's a pretty typical American. She, came all this way. She became Muslim. Did you guys ever talk about the turning point where she said, "This is it. This is the right religion"?
Stacy and I have a history together for a long time before she converted to Islam, and the history, the final conclusion is that we both are looking for peace, and I think that's the attraction that we had from each other, the peace within ourselves that Islam had put into us, and then our children. Our first daughter, we named her Iman because she was the one that even got us closer to having more belief and more Islam in ourselves. So it's not just my wife that we talk about or finding the attraction about Islam, but it's the whole life that we have around us, from parents to being married to having children, and inshallah for the future how we raise our children.
In a few words, I would like you to tell me about how do you see your life being different after Hajj? What's going to be different about it? What's going to change?
Islam, how my life will change. Well, I like to move. I like to move to a more Islamic country for my children because, we get washed away living in the United States, not because we want to, but just because it's the general lifestyle. Not only do we get washed away with religion, but we get washed away with culture. And it's me growing up in the United States through high school and so forth and so on. I saw it. You don't want it to happen, but it happens. And and being first generation in the United States, I don't want that to happen to my children. So one of the things I like to do is establish a foundation for my children, like maybe even doing Umrah in early ages of them, so that they feel the magnetism of the Kaaba or the Masjid Haram and how Islam really is felt throughout the whole world, not because you don't feel that in the United States. Instead of taking a vacation trip to Florida or something like that, take more trips to Indonesia or different Muslim countries, or to learn about Islam, and spend more time in the masjid, doing more Jummah prayers together. I mean, even though we are very involved, to be more involved. Inshallah, that hopefully will be our path in the future, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. Wallahi, you've been, I hardly knew you at the beginning of this trip. You're like one of the closest people to me right now. We're close brothers, and wallahi, this is the effect of Hajj. And alhamdulillah, I hope Allah will give you more and more and more of His blessings, inshallah, make it easy and make it possible for all of us to get better and to worship Him closer and to have a Hajj mabrur, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك.
This religion, I have to know how the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to act, so I can teach my kids and they can teach their kids. So coming here, I just cannot believe that all these Muslims,
his experiences of Hajj. So Mike, tell me a little bit more about your life in America, and tell me more about you and your family.
Well, I'm a truck driver. I made a knitter, and by the will of God, it was accomplished, and I decided if that happens, inshallah, who just converted to Islam not long ago, and they're holding on to this deen so much with their fingernails, I realized I was really weak Muslim. In order for me to make my daughters, my kids, better Muslims, I have to learn. Compared to them, I thought I was a good Muslim, but compared to them, I realized that I'm falling way behind everybody, and I need to better my life. I need to study more about what the Prophet ﷺ did, and inshallah I will come to the Hajj, and I'm very happy to come here. because my life was like routine, pray, go to work, come back. But I realized Islam is more than just routine work. When you see brothers like Abdullah and Mujahid,